Hey everyone, now that you've created your skinny brick and done all of your configurations, we're now going to move on to using or creating parts from our derived parts. Your derived file we're going to be using as a parent file is the flat brick you can create in your configurations. This video is going to focus on derived parts for the fire truck Lego kit, so if that's not your project, look for one of the other videos. So a derived part allows one file to reference another. So we need to create 3 different parts using that flat brick, and these will be 3 different part files. So at the end of your milestone, you will be submitting your skinny brick file plus each of these 3 derived parts. So only 4 files altogether. So let's begin. So first we want to go to New and select Part Document. Now change your part document window into millimeters because that's what we're designing all our Lego parts in. Next, you're going to go on your toolbar. We're going to go to Insert and select Part. Now, find where your parts are. So, since this is for the fire truck, I'm going to select skinny brick that I built for the fire truck. Now, my 2x1 came up because it was the last part I had opened in my configuration tree when I was building all the configurations for the skinny brick. If your 2x1 did not open, go ahead and go to that part you just inserted, right click, and go to List External References. Under Configuration Name, there's a drop down arrow and you can choose any of the configurations we made within the skinny brick part file. Select your flat brick and hit OK. Now I'm also going to change the material, so go to your material, right click, go to Edit Material. We are building our Lego parts in plastic and ABS plastic, and hit Apply and Close. So the first part we want to make from our derived part is part 4244627. So it is a 2x1 with basically 2 arms and a bar through it, and it is light gray. So I'm going to change the color first, so just select anywhere on your part, go to the color wheel appearance icon, select that whole part, and this one's just going to be light gray. Then hit OK. Now let's start building. So I'm going to select this plane and bring it normal too. Now, since other parts are normally built in the middle, but this one isn't, we can just sketch it right on the edge. So actually select your end plane, bring it normal to you, go to your Sketch tab and open up a new sketch. I like to just do the basic outline of my sketch and then dimension it later. So I'm going to select my line icon. Now a lot of people forget to close their sketch, so I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to select the end point of my skinny brick because our arm takes up the entire space that our thickness of our Lego brick already is. So now I have that first line. Just going to bring it out to have my bottom straight edge. Now I want to create a tangent arc here. So instead of going back on my Sketch tab and selecting the tangent arc tool, I'm just going to bring my pointer back to that end point, and it automatically will give me a tangent arc. I'm just going to put it down right here. And then I'm going to connect back to that end point, another straight line segment. Go ahead and hit OK to get out of those. So to begin, you can see SolidWorks automatically put in the relationships we basically need. I'm going to select this top line because it does need to have a horizontal relationship added to it. Once it's highlighted, I'm going to select the horizontal relationship and hit OK. You can see it snapped my part in place so it looks more like the shape we need it to. Next, I'm going to dimension it. So go to your Smart Dimension tool, dimension this top line segment. Remember just to select the line segment and not the midpoint. Bring up your dimension, and the dimension here is 2, and hit OK. Now I'm going to dimension this bottom line segment. It's about 4.4, and hit OK. Notice that once I added those 2 dimensions, my part now is fully defined, or this sketch. So next, we're going to go under Features and go to Extruded Base. I just want to note that if your sketch isn't fully defined, make sure you have this tangent relationship, because that can throw the whole part off. So under Features, go to your Extruded Base. Now, the depth of this is about 2.2, but we do want the direction going in towards the center of our brick, so go ahead and change that direction and hit OK. Now we're going to utilize the awesome mirror feature. So to begin doing that, we need to insert a plane in the middle of our part so we have a plane to mirror the feature we just created on. So go ahead and select your reference geometry, select the plane icon, and we're going to select the side faces of our 2x1 part as our references. Notice how that plane is now directly in the middle of our part, and hit OK. Still under the Features tab, go up to the mirror icon. Make sure your plane you just inserted is highlighted, and then your Features to mirror. Instead of selecting it from your actual brick, because now we're selected to this entire edge, select this drop down arrow and just click your boss extrude you just created. Once you hit OK, you can now see both your arms are there. Now we need to create the bar going between them. I'm going to hide my plane because you don't need to see it, so you can click on it and then just select this eye icon and it hides it. It's still there, and you can make it visible anytime, but it just makes it easier to see your part. So now we have a bar in between these two arms. So it'd be really hard to sketch on this internal face. So I'm going to select this outer face and bring it normal to. I'm going to sketch directly on it. Open a new sketch, select your circle icon, and we're going to share the midpoint with our tangent arc. So select your circle, go ahead and dimension it. It's the same like the rest of our Lego pieces, so 3.2. Now it's fully defined because I was connected to that midpoint. Go to your Features and extrude it. Now for your direction, you're going to want to scroll down and select Up to Surface. Then you're going to select the inner surface or inner face of the other side of your arm. Make sure you have Merge Result selected as well, so everything merges into one piece. And hit OK. And there we have it, our first drive part. So see, using the parent files, it makes it a lot easier because you don't have to redesign all those parts. So now make sure you save as, because this is its own part file, in the right area. And this part is called 4244627. And save. Let's move on to our next two parts. So once again, just go to New, select that part file, and now we're going to be creating part number 4282742. This is like a red shelf looking part. So make sure your part document window is in millimeters. Scroll over to Insert, go to Part, select our skinny brick again. Make sure it is the 2x1. Go to your material, right click and edit it, change it to ABS plastic, and close. This part is going to be red, so once again I'm going to select it, come to my color wheel for appearances, so change it to red and hit OK. So now we need to be drawing that shelf on this side. So go ahead and select this face and bring it normal too. So to begin with, we just have a rectangle. So go to your Sketch tab, open a new sketch, select the rectangle, and just kind of sketch a rectangle right there. Now, you're going to want to have measured or measure as you do this with your calipers. Make sure that you zero them out before beginning so you have an accurate measurement. So the width of this is about 13 millimeters. So I'm going to come up and select my Smart Dimension tool, change this width to 13. I'm going to double check that because it seems a little large. It is. It's about 7.8. I need some new calipers. So let's do 7.8. It's okay if it moves. It's not going to be a big deal. 7.8. Alright, now let's do our width. So once again, make sure you've zeroed out and go ahead and measure the width of this. If it seems off, it probably is. So make sure you measure twice. So I'm still getting about 37 millimeters. Then hit OK. Now, we have all the relationships and dimensions we need, but our rectangle is just floating in space basically. So to fix that, we need to attach it to our 2x1 brick. This is actually going to be probably 32. Okay, so go ahead and select this top line of our brick. Hold the Control key down and select the top line of our new sketched rectangle and hit the collinear relationship. That's just going to snap that into place so that it won't move, and now we just need to center it. So we can go ahead, find your midpoint on your rectangle, select it, hold down Control, find the midpoint on your 2x1 Lego brick. Make sure it's the midpoint. So you can just hover your mouse around till you find it. So select your midpoints. Sometimes it can be difficult. And make them vertical with each other and hit OK. Now our rectangle is fully defined. So now we're going to want to extrude it. So go to your features, hit extrude. This is a thinner extrude. So once again, you're going to want to measure that. It's about 1.5 and hit OK. So we have our basic brick right now. Go ahead and select that face and bring it normal to. Now we're going to create our first circular annulus. So open a new sketch, select a circle. This time I'm going to create two within themselves. We're going to smart dimension the outside is 5. If you forget what the main dimensions of these nodes are, you can look back at the directions for your skinny brick. Now instead of doing the inner circle, I'm actually going to do a dimension in between the two circles because I want the same thickness throughout both. And this is 0.85 and hit OK. Now we still need to dimension how far it is from each edge, which is going to be 4. So we can center it. Make sure you're selecting that midpoint and the edges. Since we have the placement of our circle plus its size, it's now fully defined. So then go to your Features tab and extrude it. Now we want to extrude it to be 1.8 and merge. And for your selected contours, make sure that you're selecting just the outside annulus and hit OK. So now we have the first node. So let's go up to our linear pattern. Our direction 1 is going to be across the edge. Make sure the arrowhead is going away from the node you already selected. Spacing is still going to be 8, and we do want 4. We don't need a second direction. We want to make sure it's this boss that's being repeated and hit OK. So now we've just created our second derived part. So go ahead and hit File, Save As. Make sure you're saving in the right area. This is really important because when you start creating your assemblies in your main assembly, if you're not pulling parts from the same file every time, it's going to get lost when you go to submit it. Your instructor won't be able to pull the right files and your assembly won't work. So you want to always save everything in the right folders in the same area, and you're constantly pulling from the same parts. So this is part number 4282742. Then hit OK. So now, since we already have this part done, and I actually just need to update it because the last part is part number 4615649. So instead of rebuilding the whole thing, since you've already seen how these parts are built, just make sure you've inserted your 2x1 brick. This time I'm going to change it to white. Hit OK. Make sure it's white. And then for this boss extrude, I'm actually going to go up and edit the sketch. I'm going to get rid of this dimension right here by highlighting it, deleting it. I'm going to change this dimension to 16 so it's longer. I'm going to get rid of my midpoint relationship on both sides, and now I'm going to add in a relationship between these two edges because I want to create a 2x2 right here instead. So I'm going to select this outer edge, hold down Control, select this outer edge, add in that collinear relationship. Do the same on the other side as well. So now our part is still going to be fully defined, and exit that sketch. Now your extrude came out correctly, and we have our first boss is still correct. Now go in and edit your pattern. This is because for our direction 1, now we only have 2, but we also have a direction 2 we need to add in. So our spacing is still 8, our edge 1 is still the same, 8. We changed the number of instances to 2. Direction 2, we're going to select this bottom edge. Once again, make sure you're going in the right direction. Change that distance to 8, and then our instances to 2, and hit OK. I don't like how this is kind of appearing to be gray, so I'm going to change the whole overall appearance once again. It's just like a grungy white. Anyway, so now we have the third part made, so much easier than rebuilding the whole thing. So go to File, Save As, make sure you're in your right file name, and you are renaming this part instead of saving it under the part number we just created. So now this part is 4615649, and hit Save. And there you have it, all 3 derived parts. We made them pretty quickly. Instead of having to build them from scratch, you can insert apart and build from it. Keep in mind you can do this for your future parts as well, and you can change that external reference that you're using in case you need a larger part or for one of your future parts. It will just save you a lot of time. Let me know if you have any questions.